Usually I try not to do 2 maps of the same type in a row, but I feel like this map's brand new, so what the hell. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Brightworks, another match of Beyond All Reason. Today we're once again taking a look at this map. This is, I guess it's not brand new, but it's new to me. It's called Salt Reef version 0.9. Today we're going to be seeing exactly what these commanders get up to. We looked at a high-level game last time. We're going to be taking a look at another extremely high-level game here as well. Plenty of silver chevron, full silver chevron commanders in here, so I'm expecting to see the absolute top-notchest gameplay there very is. Now, the other thing I have to get off my chest right before we get into this here, before we meet our team leaders, is that this video will go live on a Friday, and the day after that, that Saturday, is going to be the Beyond All Reason Pro League 2 Electric Boogaloo. And that means you have exactly until midnight to sign up. I do believe it's midnight. Anyways, you have 1 day to sign up. This is your last call to sign up for the Bar Pro League. I'm going to be playing my friend Lost Deadman over here as well, the yellow commander, also going to be playing there. As far as the bracket was updated when last I checked, we were actually going to be playing in the first round, so that'll be pretty fun to watch. Either way, though, go sign up if you're interested. The links and all that, of course, will be down below in the description, where else you can join up on the Discord and all of that. Anyways. Spawning over here on the northeastern corner and representing the blue team is an Armada commander, goes by the name of Raiko. Gonna be spawning here with a bot lab, going into that early T1 bot, and I think I like it a lot. In the last cast of this, I said how vehicles are really powerful here. I have to go back and retract that a little bit, somewhat, at least a a minor amount, because there's so many of these crystals out on the map. Yeah, this is a lot of energy out on the map, and the fact that you can use those rest spots to get so much of that energy soaked up into your economy early on, I think it really does make those make that bot lab a whole lot more viable. Indeed, you can actually see Raiko already going for a res bot here. Love to see it. Yeah, I think res bots can absolutely equalize the field right here against those vehicles, because obviously the vehicle commander is going to be strapped for energy because they're going to have to produce a whole nother constructor. It's very slow, it's very cumbersome to move around and capture all the crystals and all that sort of stuff, so it's going to be a bit tricky to actually see whether those vehicles are going to be able to get as much value. Now, already a rover's across the map right here from Cygnus, who has managed to spy on the backline over here. Oh, he finds the res bot. Oh, run away, little buddy. Run away. Little buddy does run away. Runs directly into the commander over here. There we go. Raiko does eventually blast down that rover that was being so pesky and damaging his little res bot, and it will stay alive for now. Some ticks have run to the backline, though, directly into Narnuk, the purple commander right here for the blue team, also the air player. So that commander was basically the only thing on the field right now that Narnuk had at his disposal. So luckily, those red ticks did get shut down quite nicely. They're very, very effective from the blue team. Very nicely done. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the map, exactly on the opposite side of the map here, we do have a couple of rovers. By a couple, I suppose I just mean a single rover sneaking through here from Nazah, who does manage to find a couple of res bots back here. Don't think he has enough time with those grunts coming in to clean this up to actually snipe one of those res bots, but at the very least, I suppose it's nice to know where your enemy commanders are at. So, getting a nice scout of Arberon's base, getting a nice scout of Lost Deadman's base, who has, by the way, moved up to this highland here to try and capture this, and I love to see it. Raiko transported the commander around, not worried about this little mountain section right here, maybe a little bit of an oversight. Instead, it's going to go to Shoddy, the orange commander right there, so that'll be quite nice. Shoddy definitely going to get a nice little economic advantage for having the extra 4 metal per second coming in. Shoddy is the air player here, the Cortex air player for the red team. The blue team is going to be Narnuk, so that's an extra 2 metal extractors, essentially, going to the red team's air player here. So maybe that'll be a couple extra planes, a couple extra bombers, a couple extra scouts, a couple extra of anything, and that might just make the difference here as far as the airplay is concerned. Now, Autopilot has also transported the commander pretty far forward here, setting up a nice little forward defensive facility, getting those LLTs set up to make sure that no enemy commanders can push too harshly into this area, using the grunts to threaten Cygnus here. Cygnus, stalwart as ever, though, not going to be intimidated here and just pushes right up to that front line and decides to build. Going to start throwing down some of those LLTs. I think it's a great option right now. Definitely going to be well worth it here. So Mighty Sheep is pushing up relatively slowly, actually going for a very greedy strategy here, going for a whole lot of wind turbines. For what it's worth, the red economy is booming because of it. So much power going back to the red commander right now. This is a really weird build. So Mighty Sheep has no units on the field right now. Zero. Zip, zilch, nada. Well, I suppose aside from the constructors and the commander and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, he's just eating up the whole lab. So, yeah, Mighty Sheep not going for anything but economy right here. Really strange. Okay. Mighty Sheep definitely showing us a bit of a cheeky build here, going for a whole lot more economy and depending on Florio to hold the front line right now. Raiko playing much more traditionally here. using the forward bot lab, or sorry, the forward vehicle lab here, a couple of those bots to build the forward vehicle bay. Probably going to start by pumping out a couple of blitzes, then a couple of tanks, commander sacrifice in the backline right here for the blue team. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw something similarly timed right here for the red team. Anybody getting ready for that T2 transition? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, Shoddy calls out that they're teching because of course they can see the explosion over there. And Mighty Sheep decides to go investigate. I mean, that's a great idea. We really should try and figure out what on earth is going on over here. Revealing that Mighty Sheep is actually not going for units right now might mean that Raiko sees he has an opportunity to push in here and get a little bit of damage done. And that was quite nice. A lot of those grunts going down right there. Very nice for the blue team, rather. I should clarify. At a momentary glance, they can be tricky to judge, but you can see all the corpses lying there are grunts. So none of the Rocketeers went down right there, which is really, really nice. And also with the Whistlers coming out here, at this point, those Rocketeers are going to have essentially their full range to fire their rockets, making them very, very dangerous on the front lines. Southern side is a 3 versus 2 here, so it's going to be really tricky for the blue team to hold this. It's essentially a 2v1 up on the northern side, so it should be tricky to hold that as well. Bunch of ticks getting to the backline over here, which is always really annoying. Shuriken gonna be pretty good for stopping them, not gonna be great for cleaning them up though. Hopefully this grunt command is to do the job. I'd love to see a fight command, just send it across to go clean all those up, that way we don't have to dilly-dally. Okay, Screwish is pulled down south here. I'm glad to see that for the blue team, otherwise this would have looked really, really tragic. Mr. Dirac taking a missile to the face, missile or two, down to 89%. Nothing super critical right here. Switch it to our cinematic cam, just for a little while. This is a dangerous army, though. We have so many of those aggravators pushing forward here, firing their twin rocket launchers. Okay, nice D-gun. Catches a Whistler. Not bad. Blitzes jump on top of all this. There's just not enough blitzes to really make this cost-effective, though, and down they go. That LOT also contributing nicely here, helping to hold that line. Up on the northern side over here, Mighty Sheep has eventually gone for units. Okay. This is strange. So, Mighty Sheep deciding to just brute force out a whole bunch of Janus over here. The Shuriken are pulled, and they shut down a whole lot of this, but those anti-air trucks are, well, quite good at shooting out those little paralyzer drones. Yeah, okay, we're going for the commander snipe here. Really odd. Love the play, but so strange. Don't think I've ever seen anything like it, but just like that, Mighty Sheep manages to take down the blue commander. All right. Alongside the blue commander, of course, also goes a whole bunch of the blue army here. Now, a lot of that metal is going to go back to Raiko because already there's a Resbot eating away at that corpse, pulling back about 50 metal per second, more like 60 metal per second. Gonna mean that, at the very least, the blue commander has a whole lot of metal behind his army for the time being, but, of course, isn't going to have access to that almighty D-gun, which is usually the balancing agent against maybe a T1 tank spam or something of that caliber. Very interesting play. The Janus, says Rumpy. Mimicking, I believe it's a Norwegian accent. Somebody can correct me about that. It's another caster. Oh, I'm gonna be slandered in the comment section for not remembering right off the top of my head. Anyways, love these missile trucks in big numbers right now. Not as oppressive as they once were, but still can do quite a lot of damage, especially against the grunts, especially against ticks, especially against pawns. Any of that T1 trash is gonna be blasted away by a whole bunch of those whistlers. Definitely unhappy. Our Baron to take these hits right here, right? It's just shredding off a little bit of armor at a time. Feels inefficient to fight this fight, but as long as the units don't go down, they just get injured, they can always be patched back up, as indeed we do see a couple of res bots in the back putting in some good work. Doing the Lord's work, resuscitating a lot of those bots and getting them back out there to fight whether they want to or not. Emphasis on the not. Zod doing similarly, though. Yeah, picking up a lot of these units, or at the very least repairing a whole lot of these units. And working well with his teammates here, but slowly but surely I can't help but feel like the blue team is losing ground here. Yeah, Screwish is in a little bit of trouble. Pop-up flamethrower turret, very powerful, but also static, right? It's not going to be able to move, not nearly as well as the units can anyways. Just like that, the entire army of Januses has held the line over here. I'm not sure how many were produced in total, but I want to say it was around 8 used to take down that commander right there. Was it worth it in the long run? I mean, we have a full-blown T2 transition right now from Raiko at this point. Goes for the T2 laboratory, gets the T2 units out on the field. We have Mausers rolling up here to contribute a whole bunch of firepower from long range. Always really tricky when that first Mauser comes out because you essentially have to make a snap judgment. You, being Florio in this case here, has to make a snap judgment. Is it worth pushing in here and risking all of the units to try and kill those early T2 before they snowball out of control here for the Powder Pink Commander, or is it worth it to just back off, eat up the units, well, not regurgitate the metal, but reuse the metal, maybe a more more satisfying word. A less disgusting word. Looks like, in this case, Commander is going to be sacrificed here. Florio, caught with such a tragic decision there, either has to pull the Commander back and risk it exploding right alongside all his units, or he can send it forward and hope that it doesn't take down too many of his own units, and maybe catches a couple of the enemy units as well. Construction turret has been placed over here to eat up off the battlefield. Love to see that. It's one of the lesser used things that the construction turret is capable of doing. Being moved. Non-static, static construction. Love to see it. Jan is putting in a good amount of work over here. Oh, interesting. Okay, we're going for a T2 lab. So there is a plan right here for Mighty Sheep. He sees the T2 Mauser out on the field, realizes it's about time that we go for T2 of our own. At this point, Mighty Sheep has got to start begging his teammates for metal here. If this T2 lab comes up any slower than absolutely as fast as those 3 build turrets can put it up, yeah, this is going to be an absolute stomp right here as these T2 Mauser crush through the remaining forces here for Mighty Sheep. Remaining forces being, in sum total, a single shell shocker. Commander 2, I suppose. Seaplane gunships are out. Okay, didn't have that on my radar here. Hadn't noticed that we had a little seaplane transition here from Ural. Very powerful, those seaplane gunships. Sure, yeah, I mean, okay, they're going to blast apart a whole bunch of the static defense. It's not like there's any anti-air out on the field here either. There's those whistlers over here. JTL's commander goes down. The green commander goes down. Yeah, and those gunships get all the way into the backline over here. Well, that's pretty annoying. Yeah, down goes a whole bunch of the build power. That's always pretty brutal. There's nothing really to clean these gunships up. There we go. A flak truck does come out. The shredder here to pull apart those gunships, bring them down over here. Looks like, oh my goodness, a commander went down over on this side. Well, that hurts. Yeah, Shoddy went for a little bit of a play over there. Pulled the commander over to this side and managed to blow up a whole bunch of these bases. Yeah, it looks like he just lasered and D-gunned down all these different bases over here. Really nicely done by the orange commander. Putting a significant dent in the economy right here for the northern side of the blue team. A couple of amphibious tanks trying to get cheeky here through the pawns as well. Not going to have as much effect. There's plenty of units out, including T2 units, to shut all that down. Still very annoying to have to deal with, though. Autopilot definitely fighting a complicated battle on multiple different fronts. Still on T1 on the southern side here. Wouldn't mind seeing a T2 transition. Maybe going for... Okay, we do have a T2 lab coming up. Maybe all 3 of these commanders pooling their resources to get T2 out a whole lot sooner, and then using, say, a spy bot or a scuttle or any of those super efficient T2 units that can trade out extremely easily as a way to leverage an advantage into a victory here on the southern side. For right now, I just don't see how these armies are going to efficiently trade out, and the advantage is going to go to the blue team. It just has to go back to the red just because they're so far pushed forward, and they have the res bots, and they have the commanders. Everything is looking great for the red team right now. Especially considering the reclaiming is looking pretty good as well. Love those shell shockers, man. Those are satisfying. Well, these are Wolverine, I guess. Technically, commander goes down there as well. Love the gunship flying around as well. Those are also a bit of a cheeky transition here from Ural, who went out into the lake right here. Bit of an odd one, but you know, that's oftentimes what actually wins these games, catching your opponent by surprise. There's an agitator that was actually built over here. That's interesting. Okay, this is I mean, a great place for it. Sure, up on this hillside, it's going to be really tricky to deal with here. And there we go, just like that, Mighty Sheep does manage to survive the onslaught of the T2 forces. The laboratory does get eaten up right there at the very last moment, so that's quite nice by Raiko. Excellent play there. If you didn't know, if the lab goes down, you lose about 30% of the metal that was tied up in the lab. The number might be off by plus or minus, so don't flame me for it, but either way, you lose a little bit of the metal when it turns into a wreck, but you can still reclaim it, of course. However, if you deconstruct it, you reclaim the entire sum total of the amount of metal that was tied up in the factory. So, reclaiming it at the very last second there essentially spared a couple hundred metal for the blue economy right now, which is going to need it. Yeah, I mean, we're putting up some lightning turrets. Those will be nice against T1, but this is a full-blown T2 army right here. Narnuk in a whole lot of trouble. Ugh. Mauser continuing to fire away. The AoE will eventually take down the purple commander, and just like that, there's not really anything at all to take down the army pushing in for Mighty Sheep as well as Florio here. Very nicely done on the northern side. Just goes to show what those top tier players can really pull out of a hat. Went from zero units to full-blown T2 units off of a T1 economy, eventually transitioning into T2, of course. But what a bizarre build right there from Mighty Sheep. Definitely showing us what some high APM gameplay can really look like. making all those transitions between those units. It might look easy when the pros are doing it, but I guarantee you go ahead and give it a try in any of your own games. It's not so easy as they're making it look right here. Lightning turrets doing the absolute very most to try and repel this attack. Once they go down to their little hidden form like this, they're very easy to repair, and they're also very sturdy, so the Mauser are actually going to have a tricky time dealing with them. Lightning tanks are pulled from the southern side here. It does leave this middle of the map a little exposed, but yeah, those lightning tanks do jump on top of the Mauser, which didn't really have any other kind of fire support here, and actually end up being an excellent catch. Really, really efficient trade right there. The Green Commander AD absolutely saving Raiko and company here. Buying time to complete this advanced fusion reactor, or no, sorry, a regular fusion reactor right here. Buying time to get back into this match here. Time that is desperately, desperately on its edge. Yeah, Mighty Sheep in a bit of a tricky situation. Starts pumping out units over here. There's also some lightning turrets and heavy laser towers and all sorts of other stuff coming up here as well. So these lightning tanks won't be able to get any counterattack damage done, but already I think they've definitely gotten their value in the form of saving their teammates here. Yeah. All those units pulled across, though. All those lightning tanks that were sent up north left this area exposed, and that's why these amphibious tanks were able to crawl out of the water, sneak their way onto shore here, and blast away at a whole bunch of the economy over here. They pop a bunch of energy converters, which, all said and done at this point in the game, not exactly the most precious of buildings here, but certainly hurts a little bit. Definitely shuts down a little bit of that metal production. Means you start to waste some of that energy. It's not super comfortable. All said and done, though, did these Garpikes get their value out? I would probably say no. Probably close, but not quite. Lightning Tank's gonna have no problem disassembling that front line. Tick spam is set up right here, by the way, from Mighty Sheep, who's gonna start sending those very cheap spy bots forward to try and get a little bit of vision here so that follow-up T2 push can seal the deal, so to speak. The laser tower over here, quite nice. Ural with a nice little fortified position here. He's got the floating construction turrets helping out with whatever's on the land over there, so that's quite nice. Southern side, desperately in need of some sort of a tiebreaker. The static defense is falling as we do now all the way transition into a T2 army here. We have the Mauser firing away for basically all these players, save for Screwish, who went into the Sheldon. Whole bunch of bombers over here. Those whirlwinds. Gonna target down the lab right there, and just like that, reduced to atoms. My goodness, what a bombing run. We're going for the second lab as well. Oh, this is so costly for the blue team. 2,900 metal for each of those labs right there. Basically 6,000 metal completely eliminated from the blue side of the map. That is a really nice bombing run right there. Not to mention the production, of course, which got killed. Eventually those bombers are starting to fall here, but you cannot help but wonder if that T2 kill, that double T2 kill, is going to be more than enough to block out all of the opportunity that the southern side has right now. Now going for a wind turbine bombing run. Beautiful bombing run. My goodness, what a bombing run right there. Took out basically every wind turbine that Pliz helped send troops had in his arsenal over here. Another bombing run connects against Nizah. These bombers have been tremendously effective, getting so much value out here, shutting down so much of the economy. Oh, that was so painful too. Pliz helped send troops, was in the middle of building an APHIS. Really, really painful to lose your wind turbines while you're building the APHIS. It's exactly when you need them most. So that was a killer bombing run. Bombers eventually shot down, but man, did they go on a tear over here. Shutting down so much economy for Nizah, so much for Pliz help send troops, our Lavender player here. That was really, really brutal. Definitely bought the southern side a whole lot of time here. They're going to be very comfortable going up to T2, maybe even T3, just because of how much damage was done right there. Lightning tanks have now been built here. Mighty Sheep learning the lesson not to support those Mauser with a little bit of lightning firepower here, and they're going to blast through these grunts like they're nothing. Paper thin, those grunts do look when that lightning beam does begin to connect, chain reacting off of their thin dermal armor and into the heart and core of their ironclad CPUs. Love the Jaguar. What an awesome unit. Looks like a little tractor. I can't help but think of it as a little tractor towing along its little anti-air battery. Absolutely beautiful unit. Love the design on that one. I'm just a sucker at my heart for lightning units, though, as anybody could tell you. Definitely one of my favorites, and one of the reasons why I play Armada in the whole first place. Nice spybot connection right there. Does paralyze a whole bunch of the frontline units. A lot of T1 was caught in that, but also some T2. Actually, it was mostly T2. Yeah, there's some Jaguars. A couple of Bulls were caught there as well. It hurts, but there's enough T2 units here, I do believe, to support, so I don't really think these Fiends are going to be able to get that much value out. Surely. Maybe just to prove me wrong, sending them in and self-destructing, which is the thing that I feel like a lot of players, including myself, forget about a lot of the time. But yeah, those fiends can actually get way more value than you anticipate if you self-destruct them properly, because they can essentially work as little miniature bombs. Sumos have been included in this composition that is marching, waddling slowly forward here. Menacing are those tin cans. They fire a big green laser beam of death, and it's really uncomfortable to push into that. They fire rapid enough that they can deal with spams of unit, but their damage is also relatively high, meaning that they can actually deal fairly well with even up to T2 stuff really, really nicely. They are a menace on the battlefield. Once you have enough of them in a line like this, that is essentially an impenetrable wall, and you really need to start making some extremely, extremely tough units to actually bring those down efficiently. Basically T3. What a satisfying wind turbine field over here, by the way. Love to see that. Also extremely bomber resistant, I will note, because they're spread out so much. Not to say that bombers wouldn't absolutely tear through a wind turbine farm like that, but it is always a little bit nicer to spread them out. They're going to chain react a little less. They're going to be targeted by the AoE a little bit less. Just makes for a better situation overall. Here they come. Burning across the battlefield. Those fiends do shut down the lightning tanks that were on a tear through the middle of the map right here. I would have liked to see those tanks just commit to pushing into the blue or the purple base over here. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I'm not sold on them going south here. It feels like that was definitely just a little bit of a waste of metal. Didn't end up working out as well, but obviously, of course, these players are playing with incomplete information, right? So they don't have the perfect vision to see that there's actually a lot of interesting options for assaulting these northern bases over here. To Mighty Sheep, this might look like an impervious fortress. Love this Pitbull on the high ground right here. That's really nice. Gonna be firing away at a whole bunch of these, but there we go. Yeah, the Sumos, they really do not care. Down goes that Pitbull right there. What a bummer. Lightning tank's gonna be pretty, lightning turrets right here going to be pretty nice for denying the tick spam that they're calling for in the chat system, in the ping system right now. Can we take a moment to appreciate the ping system? That's another one of those things that I just can't go back to playing any other RTS without. The ability to write pings, especially multiplayer RTS, I should specify. The ability to add pings and draw on the map, draw little doodles, highlight certain areas, draw out tactics, push to this line, hold this defensive position, all that sort of stuff. What a wonderful, wonderful feature. I feel like Beyond All Reason really is the game of features. Oftentimes, whenever I'm curious if there's a way to do something in this game, 99% of the time, the answer is yes, and it's already bound to a hotkey or something, which is just lovely. The EMP spiders are an interesting choice here. I don't mind it, but we're gonna need about 50 of them in order to stop this push right here, at least efficiently, or stop enough of this push for it to be efficient. Fusion reactors do start to fall, though, and the combined weight of all these players pushing in right now is just too much. And down goes Raiko's base right there. The Sumos with so much HP that those lightning turrets just couldn't overwhelm them, and then the Bulls and the Jaguars and everything else in the backline, especially those Mauser, contributing so much damage per second here, and down goes the entire remainder of the defense here for the blue player. Left with a single pit bull, slowly chipping away at some of those Sumos over there. They feel damn near impervious, the Sumos, just because of how impressively sturdy they are for a T2 bot. That is until you compare them with a mammoth, in which case they look like they're made out of tinfoil and paper. Big old fiend wave. Burning up northward. Trying to get some value out here. And for what it's worth, doing a pretty good job of it, actually. Yeah, you know what? A lot of those lightning tanks did go down just now. A couple of bulls in the backline over here. Wouldn't mind seeing those push into the back over here. Probably worth sacrificing those just to try and get a little damage on the economy. Thin out the energy sector, so to speak, from the purple commander here. Raiko's still in the game, by the way. Still, hasn't left untapped here. So certainly could try and do something. Big nuke is coming up over here, though. Not quite done, though. Not quite done. Looks like the northern commanders do not have an anti-nuke. Oh, but the green player gets their nuke out first. Beautiful. Nuke comes up. Where does it come from? Where does it go? Where is the nuke going, Cotton Eye Joe? Oh, didn't see where it was targeted, but I think we know it's going to head into the backline here somewhere. Oh, right into the orange nuke right there. Beautiful nuclear counter to the nuclear launch right there. That's always one option. Left where once there was a base known by the name of Shoddy, there is a smoking crater filled with irradiated debris. Beautiful nuke. Just about as perfect a nuke as you could place. Lovely, lovely stuff right there. Really nicely done by AD. Love the focus, right? Had the vision to do what was necessary. Very, very nicely done. Doesn't amend for the fact, though, this is looking really brutal here on the front line. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sumos headed up north, don't get me wrong. JTL contributing tons and tons of firepower up here, making it really inconvenient for the red forces to continue this push. Essentially cost ineffective at this point, but man, is it a losing battle to keep fighting up these angles like this. Love the Twitcher out here, building a massive minefield. Always a very efficient way to dissuade troops from moving in a certain direction. Just to blow them up. Just blow them up. You might even want to just put that on a plaque, hang it above your Beyond All Reason. Just blow them up. Trademark, Brightworks, 2024. Anywho, slogans and slander aside, Fiends have now jumped on top of a Starlight here. That's a very expensive unit to lose to a couple of those very cheap assault units. 200 metal a piece for a Fiend, 400 for a pair, I suppose. Pitbulls over here are going to be a little bit better at dissuading those Fiends from pushing in now. Anti-nuke will intercept the next nuke that was fired out here. I think it was headed over in this direction. No. Where's the anti-nuke? I'm struggling to find it. Yeah, it was right here. Okay, so anti-nuke does protect the base on the southern side. Otherwise, that would have been a beautiful place to connect a nuke. You can imagine taking out this entire southern side where there's so many forces built up for the blue team right here. If we just highlight all that, you can see it's about 14,000 metal worth of forces built up right here. If this got nuked, it would absolutely open up the backline for the red team, and we'd have ourselves a bit of a swing situation. A yin-yang game, as I like to call them. Bull's doing a nice job of holding the line over here. Fiends are going to jump on top of them, but as soon as those pit bulls stick their heads above ground and start firing away here, I think these Fiends are going to be well met. Just like that. The bulls go down, at the very least. It's a nice catch on those bulls. These are quite expensive. 950 metal apiece, so very, very tricky. What a tragic stalemate on the southern side, though. Neither player able to really push too much further into this no man's land over here. Basically, either team that commits an army and loses it is going to lose this entire lane right here, so neither one really wants to do that. Tactical missile launchers have been built, by the way. 27 kills between the two of them. I think it's probably just, yeah, one of them has 27, or no, one of them has 7 kills. Oh, there's multiple tactical missile launchers. Oh, there's a couple up here, too. Lovely. Yeah, the red team definitely embracing their Cortex heritage. Going for those tactical missile launchers and firing them well into the hearts of the blue team here. Little sprint to run by up north gets shut down very nicely. Caught that out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, this northern side, what a mess. What a mess. Trying to rebuild up there is so, so difficult. Starlights are being sent up north here as well. Let's go take a look at it real quick. Yeah, Starlights are being sent up here to make sure that any sumos or bulls or anything basically that gets back up is going to be put right down just again. Just as quick as it went down. Love the resbots though. Certainly one way to make an efficient trade. Nuke gets bursted midair here. Wow, what a match. Finally, some units are sent down south here. They're going to encounter this landmine field that was set up over here, and the sumos are going to have a field day blasting apart these Fiends. This is exactly what those sumos were hoping for. Just like that. Those landmines becoming extremely valuable suddenly. Well, if the units hit them. That is a certain contingent that this entire strategy relies upon. Yeah, just like that. Beamer turrets also doing a great job over here. We'd love to see these replenished by a whole bunch of Twitchers. So there's something to be said for a sort of randomly dispersed minefield like this, as opposed to a nice big grid mesh of landmines. And one thing is that it makes it very difficult to predict where you should actually move your units, right? If you know exactly where a landmine field is, then you know exactly where not to step your units, or you know exactly where to send a Juno missile. A little bit harder to predict that when you build them in that sort of a way. Shiva, by the way, have been well under production by this point, and Florio is now sending them across the map here. The first one will just now hit the front lines and cause absolute carnage. Blasting away at those T1 units. Down go a whole bunch of the grave robbers over here that were meant to resuscitate some of those T2 and T1 units that went down, but those Shiva are absolutely not having it, and indeed, I guess the blue team decides that once those T3 have hit the battlefield and they don't really have a T3 transition of their own, the game is lost. Well done to the red team who managed to claim victory today in this game of Beyond All Reason. Absolutely love to see it. Some strange plays from Mighty Sheep, but is it really strange if it works? maybe it's just the definition of a new meta. Sure hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond Our Reason. Don't forget about that Bar Pro Leagues. Go check out the comment section. Peace out, folks.